Dr. Fab. I'm right now live at Phoenix City Hall trying to do a live protest against the hawkish foreign policies of Biden administration. There's a lot to talk about. The first thing I need to talk about is Afghanistan. There was a news that was clearly missed by the mainstream media that the US has tried to drone Afghanistan again and disrupt the peace process. While US is engaged in Ukraine in a war that shouldn't have never happened, and the route of diplomacy should have been sought after, we are now looking at re-engagement of Afghans into another battle. It's like everybody wants a piece of Afghanistan. And if Afghanistan gets unstable, the world is going to get more unstable, more volatile, and more prone to deadly wars. We have seen this for the last 2 decades. People are dying. Civilizations are getting displaced and decimated. And we are repeating the same blunders. We are allowing the same mistakes to happen again and again. It's like we are in a state of communism. No matter what we do, whom we select, whoever comes to the White House, whether it's Trump, whether it's Obama, whether it's Biden, whether it's Bush, whether it's Bill, the results are the same. And what is the only explanation behind this? Why would you have the same results despite having two different political parties taking charge of the White House? The only explanation is that White House is under a state of communism. There is no democracy, no liberty in the White House. It is occupied by people and corporations who have no interest in what matters to the American people. What are the values of the American people? What US was founded on? Principles of humanity, principles of human rights violations were just aggravated, violated in Afghanistan, that got drawn again after we barely got peace. And now in Ukraine, we are seeing the war aggravate, proliferate, when it can be contained and peace can be achieved. But nobody wants to come to the table because it's not profitable for the military-industrial complex. They want to make weapons and then they want to instigate wars that kill people, including the American soldiers, endangering the lives of the American diplomats, and putting this world on the brink of World War III. There are bioweapons in the Ukraine that could be released, causing another COVID-like disaster. There are nukes in Ukraine that could go in the wrong hands and cause a nuclear apocalypse. Why aren't the American people trying to stop the Ukraine war? Why aren't the American people trying to stop Biden from instigating wars all over the world? He just tried to evict Russia on the basis of human rights violations. I'm not a Russian. I've never been to Russia. But it's unfair to evict Russia without being accountable for the war crimes that got committed under the various White House administrations in Guantanamo Bay, in Abu Ghraib. Where's the accountability? Where's the transparency? What is wrong for Ukrainians? How can it be right for the Iraqi people? How can it be right for the Afghans? How can it be right for the Yemenis? How can it be right for the Libyans, for the Syrians? Tell me, how can it be right for the Palestinians? How can it be right for the Kashmiris? US, deep state, owning the White House, has stood by every fascist government of the world, every dictator of the world. Who was Saddam Hussein? Saddam Hussein was a CIA asset who fought the war against Iran for years. And then the same Saddam Hussein decided to defy US in the Kuwait war. And so he was taken out. What has US achieved in trying to place dummies all over the world? We saw what happened in Iran. Raza Pahlavi was stationed as a dummy over there. And then what happened thereafter? A regime took over Iran that doesn't harbor any good feelings for US. They say death to Americans after every prayer 5 times a day. I don't condone to that because I know American people are better than that. They do not deserve death. But the deep state has to be contained, it has to be confronted, it has to be neutralized. And Biden is not going to do that. Biden is acting like a puppet in the hands of the deep state. That's why we are seeing more destruction, more decimation, more displacement. We are seeing a deadly war in Ukraine instigated by the white supremacists. Yes, the white supremacists. You think Biden cares about the black people? No, he doesn't. He is proliferating a war to appease the white supremacists. Whether you choose Trump, whether you choose Biden, whether you choose Obama, who's a first black American president, you will find white supremacy's tentacles forcing them to do, making them do what they want to do. Instigate war, instigate violence, instigate conflict, create havoc, create unrest, create civil crisis, place dummies all over the world who are trying to control the people who refuse to get controlled. Look what happens in Iran. You tried to control the Iranians using Raza Pahlavi, and what happened? The whole country gotten taken over by an extreme right regime that won't even come to the table to talk with US. Same scenario in Afghanistan. You placed a dummy like Ghani. You didn't have to. You didn't have to. All you had to do was let Afghans enjoy democracy the way they want to. And now you have an extreme right regime sitting in Afghanistan who dictates to you what they want you to do. Your experiments of placing dummies all over the world are not working. They're endangering your soldiers, your diplomats, your journalists, your activists, and they're endangering the lives of the American people. This is a bad, failed foreign policy. Coming to sanctions. Sanctioning Russia, China, sanctioning every country that decides to defy you is only making them stronger. They are developing an alternative system to function on their own, where they don't have to be dependent on American products anymore. Whose loss is that? It's the loss of the American people. It's the loss of the American livelihoods. It's the loss of the American economy. But for a person like Biden, it is hard to understand what is good for the American people because he's not working for you. He's working for a communist regime called the deep state of the United States that's trying to own the rest of the world and enslave billions of people, abusing the power in the White House.
Sister, I like what you're talking about. Amen. Amen. What are you? What's your religion?
I'm a Muslim. Let me finish.
Oh, yes. Amen. Inshallah. Inshallah.
Thank you.
Okay. I have to go, though. Okay?
But regardless of the religion, we should be united against what's wrong. Right? Because no religion tells its people to be violent and to be intolerant. All religions dictate peace. All religions dictate love and tolerance. So whether you're a Christian, you're a Jew,
Amen.
you're a Muslim, all religions teach humanity. So coming back to what I was saying, Moses is to be respected. He's a prophet of God. For Muslims, Moses.
So they believe Michael had to the revelations down. They believe that Michael had to bring revelations down to the Muslims. The Muslims believe Jibril.
Well,
They believe Jibril.
yeah. I think what's going on is that we should respect all religions, and all religions do support harmony and tolerance and
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah, so that's the thing now.
No religion tells you to go around bombing each other.
It don't matter. Whoever handed it down. Whoever handed it down, handed it down. But they believe the Jews, which are related to the Muslims, to the bloodline, okay? They believe that Michael was the one that had the last relation down to Prophet Muhammad. And the Muslims believe it was Jibreel. So that's the issue there.
No, it's not a big issue. It's not a big issue because at the end of the day, it's a holy revelation.
Yes.
And it tells you, and it talks about Moses, it talks about Jesus, it respects Mary, it respects Jesus, it respects Moses.
Yes.
If you read the Quran, it shows you respect for all prophets who have come before Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So let me finish first. So today I'm here right now talking to the American people to kindly stand up for your rights of civil liberties that are in grave danger. You are in grave danger because there's communism in the White House. You do not have democracy in the White House. Your foreign policy is the same foreign policy that pushed for the Iraq invasion. Your foreign policy is the same foreign policy.
Peace be upon you. Amen. Facebook Tommy Bush, Phoenix, Arizona. And I love you, okay?
Okay.
God is good. God is good.
Thank
the
you.
Quran is real. Because it actually talks about justice
Yeah.
where there's balance. It's
And equality.
You gotta have all three of them, amen.
Yeah.
You gotta have all three of them. On my end, I got
Truth,
love.
justice, equality.
On my end, though, as a
Rights.
Christian, I got love, faith, and hope. And only one out of the three that's remaining is love. Love would always be
Quran
there.
is based on love.
Yes, love would always be there as a Christian.
Yeah.
When your faith and your hope is gone, love is always there. Amen.
You have a good day.
Thank you for the fight against evil.
Thanks.
And Mike, our terror of the evil spirit.
So
Amen.
if we are to eradicate communism from US to be able to achieve freedom of our civil liberties, we have to confront the Biden administration today, right now, before there's a nuclear apocalypse coming out of Ukraine. Before Afghanistan re-engages into another battleground, proxy battleground between Russia and US. We don't want that. We don't want to get there. We want a ceasefire in Yemen. We want a ceasefire in Syria. We want a ceasefire in Palestine. We want a ceasefire in Kashmir. We want a ceasefire in Iraq. We want a ceasefire in Afghanistan. And we want a ceasefire in Ukraine. Even though some of you who love white supremacy said Ukrainians are civilized, so their lives matter. Ukrainians are white, so their lives matter. Ukrainians are us, so their lives matter. We as Muslims, we as the non-white, we as the others still respect the lives of Ukrainians. Even though you have tried to isolate us, our religion does not allow us to spread hate. And neither does Christianity, nor does Judaism. None of the religions, I was just talking to this guy, none of the religions dictate hate or violence. So we have these stupid anchors coming on television saying that Ukrainians are white. They're white people, they have blonde hair, they have blue eyes, so they deserve the attention of the world. Then we have these anchors who come and say that Ukrainians are the civilized people. So, in the United Nations Human Rights, they decided to evict Russia on the basis of the fact that he committed so-called human rights violations against the white people with blue eyes, blonde hair. So it did take them a minute to get rid of Russia from the human rights organizations in the United Nations. But when it came to the war crimes in Abu Ghraib, Guantanamo Bay, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, Palestine, Kashmir. What happened to the United Nations Human Rights Organization? How can you not see that Ukrainian war has been instigated by the white supremacists who are abusing their power to control the United Nations, to control Biden, your White House? It is your White House. It is not Biden's White House. It is the White House of the American people. And I still don't know why is it called the White House. Why isn't it called the Black House or just a house? Who decided to name the White House as the White House? Why was the biggest powerhouse of United States named as the White House? Tell me, why was it called the White House? To be owned, to be occupied, to be controlled by the white supremacists. And time has told you again and again and again that they are abusing your tax dollars to become rich on the carnage of the funerals of your soldiers. They killed your soldiers to become rich. They amputated, disabled your soldiers to become rich. Veterans are suffering from PTSD. They don't have enough money to be able to pay for their medical bills, for their livelihoods. They're suffering. They're in depression. Does anybody care in US? If you don't even care about your own soldiers' lives, who do you care about? They are your first defense line. Their lives could not be protected by you. And they were sent, abused like a tissue paper in these wars, including the Ukrainian war that didn't even have to begin. Russia would have come to the table. China would come to the table on Taiwan. Afghans would come to the table. Stop trying to get dummies stationed all over the world. You saw what happened in Iran. You saw what happened in Afghanistan. Corrupt people who have taken your tax dollars to become your dummies have totally abused you for years at the cost of the lives of your soldiers, propagating a war just to become rich. These dummies are part of the military-industrial complex. They're agents of destruction that the Biden administration and the presidents before him have chosen to station all over the world to seek complete 100% obedience. And what has it given United States? Death, destruction, loss of economy. So tell me, what are you going to get out of getting dummies all over the world? Look at what happened in Iran with Raza Pahlavi. You tried to control people who refused to be controlled, and they kicked out your dummies and took total charge, and now they are so hostile towards you. If you had tried to bridge your relationship based upon mutual respect, mutual understanding, sought trade, start partnerships, you never would have to have a dummy in Iran or Afghanistan. Learn from your experience. Look at what's going on in Libya. You thought Gaddafi was anti-American. Did you ever bother to ask him why he was anti-American? You know, if you're a family and you're 2-3 brothers and sisters, and then 2 brothers don't get along with each other and they're always fighting, and you're the one who's trying to make peace amongst them, what do? Do you take out that one brother just because he doesn't get along with the other brother? No, you never do that. You try to talk sense. You try to sit down, rationalize. Hey buddy, what's going on? Why are you so pissed at me? What did I do? How can I make up? Let's be friends again. Let's not fight again. Let's share love, respect, harmony, trade, which is a win-win situation for you and for my people. Why is that so hard to say for the deep state of the United States? Why cannot you offer peace practically instead of posing your hypocrisy in the United Nations? You do not care about BLM. You have instigated a war for the white supremacists. There is proof that the black people were rejected at the Ukrainian border. Yes, the black people were not allowed to pass the border when the war started. They said you stay behind. Only the white people can go. This is what I'm talking about. This is a white supremacist war. And if American people have any regard for racial equality, and if they do believe in fight against systemic racism, whether it is at a national level or international level, then they will stand up today and end this war that was instigated by the white supremacists. And who is dying in this war? American people. Your soldiers who were sent there to make the white supremacists rich. Is it worth it? Tell me if it's worth it. You've done Iraq. You've done Afghanistan. You've done Syria. You have done Libya. You have done even Pakistan to an extent. You have done Palestine, done Kashmir, sitting with Modi, and guess what? Modi decides to support Russia at the 11th hour. So the guy you supported, whose fascism you supported, who's currently lynching minorities, trying to convert them to Hinduism in India, was your best buddy, was Biden's best buddy, Trump's best buddy, Obama's best buddy for years. He was empowered by these deep state owned presidents. And now, when the American people needed him, he decided to join the person you were fighting with. All your money gone to waste. This is what I'm talking about. The dummies, they don't have any conscience. If they can be bought by you, they can be bought by your enemies. Remember that. You want a foreign policy? Stop trying to station dummies. Stop trying to control different civilizations, different cultures. This is not the way to go about it. You have lost immeasurable amount of economy and precious lives of your people, not to mention the 9/11 that happened. That wouldn't have happened if it were not for the bogus foreign policy of Bill Clinton, who came before Bush, and then Bush just put fuel in fire. You need to stand up and stop trying to station dummies all over the world, because the dummies are expensive, like Ghani was, like Raza Pahlavi was, like Modi was. Modi was a very expensive dummy. And guess what? When you need them, after they drain you like a parasite, they are nowhere to be found. And what they do is they aggravate conflict, killing their own people in order to get more profits from you. For them, it is business. It's a business of death that they have adopted to kill their own people, to kill your people, to aggravate conflict, to aggravate violence, all on the tab of the American taxpayers. You should learn from your mistakes. Why am I having to tell you this? Do your strategic analysis for the last few decades and see what you can conclude. Is it worth it to try to station dummies all over the world? Is it worth it to try to control like a control freak, like an obsessive compulsive person, to control billions of people? No. Your own closest allies in the European Union are now defecting from you. They are fed up of your wars. They are fed up of the deep state. They don't want to be part of this anymore. They are done with this. Would you like to be isolated? So even the white people who have blue eyes and blonde hair don't care about you anymore? Seriously? Why am I having to tell you this? Why is the Ukraine war still going on? What is this, the medieval ages? What is it, the Stone Age? Where we have lost any sense of civilization. We've lost our ability to communicate. We've lost our ability to show kindness, to show that we are humans, not machines, owned by robotic, conscienceless deep states. We have to act now because there are bioweapons in the Ukraine territory. We have to work right now because there are nukes in Ukraine. And if Afghanistan gets destabilized, Russia will jump in. Russia is looking for an excuse. Don't give it to him. Don't give Putin an excuse to jump into Russia. Don't instigate violence in Afghanistan. Try to mediate a truce with the people of Afghanistan. It's their culture, let it be. They want to live in tents, let them live in tents. What's wrong with you? They are not asking you to leave your homes and live in tents, or to dress up like this or dress up like that. So why do you bother if they want to dress up a certain way, eat a certain way, live a certain way? It's their life, it's their culture. Let them have your culture. You can have your culture. Who's stopping you from doing your culture? No one. Why do you bother? Their women are happy, their girls are happy. Why instigate conflict? I stand for the women's rights too. I'm a woman myself. But when too much meddling and interference in someone's house gets really bothersome, then wars start happening every day. If you have a friend, he likes to do things his way, you're not going to go to his house and tell him, hey, I don't like how you are doing this. He's your friend. He's doing it his way. He lives his way. He eats his way. It's his life. When you're not going to even interfere in the life of your friend, why would you like to interfere in the lives of billions of people living in different countries of the world and then trying to control them? Trying to arrest their civil liberties and trying to make them, who they are not, who they never will be? Why? You want the rest of the world to adopt tolerance. What about you? When are you going to have tolerance for others, for the hijabs? Look at what Macron is doing. He's the biggest fascist of the European world. You are empowering him, just like you empowered Modi. Because it's convenient, right? All these dumb-headed dummies you can easily buy with money and with your lollipops. But guess what? When you need these dummies, they can easily be bought by your opponents. As what happened to Modi. He was your dummy. Dummy number one of United States of America for the last decade or so. And guess what he does in the Ukraine war? He ditches you and decides to become a Russian top ally. Today, if your sanctions are not working, he's one of the biggest reasons. because he probably got a better offer from the Russians. So this is what placing dummies in different places leads to. You lose their loyalty when you need it the most. So stop trying to waste your money on dummies all over the world, because they will not be with you when you need them. They're going to sell themselves to a higher bidder. It's common sense. For so many years you've been failing in wars because of the same reasons, because these dummies were never with you. But I think common sense is disallowed in the United States because we are living in a state of communism. We have an unofficial communism in the United States. There was this kid, a young black American kid, who tried to board an airplane, and he was wearing this shirt that said, I'm fasting so I can't say the F word, but it said the 4-letter F word on it, and it said Biden. And the air hostess was so offended that she told him to get out or take the shirt off, change it. So she did not like that the president was being disrespected. Well, there's a reason why he said that. Why would a black young American kid who has seen the BLM movement all the way want to say such a thing against Biden? Doesn't make sense, right? But the black Americans are finding out how much hypocritical the Biden administration is. They're finding out the truth. And Trump is making use of this hypocrisy of Biden to recruit as many BLMers as he can to make a grand comeback. So it's a loss of the Biden administration. If it continues to condone to its white supremacist-owned wars, conflicts, and hawkish foreign policies that are sanctioning every other nation of the world and that are walking around with an off with their head spear in their hands. Literally, Biden right now has an off with their head mentality because he thinks he's strong enough to do that. But why is he allowed to think that way if this is a democratic country? Are we living in a communist America? Tell me. Is this a communist America where your president demands you to behave a certain way, live a certain way, follow his hawkish foreign policies against your principles, against your constitution, empowering fascism, empowering the Hitler, neo-Nazi, nationalists in Ukraine to advance its agenda of white supremacy for a white people's war? Seriously, when are the American people going to wake up? When are you going to wake up? Are you going to just say yes to the state of communism? Are you okay with it? Guys, are you okay with communism in the White House? Do you think you can live with it? It's just the beginning. Do something about it if you can. I'm not saying flood the streets and have riots and all that. No violence. Everything has to be peaceful because it's your kids' lives that matters too. And safety comes first. What I'm trying to say is this: you need to start calling your senators. You need to start calling your congressmen, congresswomen. You need to start calling your representatives who became representatives because of you, because of your vote. And they will have to listen to you. You tell them, I want the Ukraine war to end. You tell them, I want you to go meet Putin right now and talk to him about you can get rid of the bioweapons labs and the nukes. How can you make this world safer and secure? You tell your reps, you tell your congressmen, you tell your senators that we are not going to tolerate any more wars in the name of freedom and democracy so that your military industrial complex can get rich. You do it right now. You have the power. God gave you the power. And you can do it. Call them, pester them, tell them again and again and again and again till they give in. This is what democracy is. Do not let them empower fascism, empower war criminals, empower military industrial complex, empower evil, empower deep state, empower white supremacists. This century will not be owned by the white supremacists. This century belongs to everybody. It belongs to you. It belongs to me. It belongs to everybody, no matter what your religion is, no matter what your color is, no matter what your background is, no matter what your nationality is. This world belongs to everybody. This draconian dictatorship cannot be allowed anymore. Americans must rise and resist the communism emanating from the White House that's technically trying to not just enslave 332 million Americans, but the rest of the world as well. Ukraine war has come with an agenda. And the agenda is to bring you down to your knees. Look at the price of consumer goods. Look at the price of petrol. They're telling you there's going to be a food crisis. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? They are stocking food. They are creating a crisis that was not supposed to be created. That would not have happened. They're engineering everything. They're engineering this inflation. They're engineering a fear inside of you, forcing you to obey. This is what a dictatorial communist works as. Incite fear, incite hate, and then get your way. You have got to stop this before a nuclear bomb gets blasted off in Ukraine. You have to stop Biden before all hell breaks loose, which it already has. And you have to confront the United Nations as well over its hypocrisy, because before it could punish Russia, it must punish every power involved in the war crimes that happened in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, Libya, Palestine, Kashmir, Burma, Bosnia, Venezuela. It's such a long list. We need to act right now. Our inaction is promoting, aggravating their agenda to own the United States of America, 322 million Americans, and the rest of the world. Our desensitization is going to cost our kids. They're going to look back and say, Mama, why didn't you do anything about it? Baba, Daddy, what happened? Where were you? You were sleeping when they were trying to instigate a nuclear war in the Ukraine? Why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you tell your president to go talk to the other presidents who were involved in this conflict and try to come to a harmonious deal that would work for everybody. What is this? Come on, we are all humans. Russians are humans too. Chinese are humans too. They are not aliens. They understand you. They live like you. They reproduce. They eat. They drink. They build relationships. They are not without a soul. They have a soul. Go talk to them. Try to talk to them and say, hey, buddy, what's going on? We are really getting hammered. You are getting hammered. We are getting hammered. Let's put an end to this. I mean, how long does it take to do this? It takes me, I'm a physician. It takes me hours to save a life. One life. Hours to save a life. And look at the lives that are being lost all over the world in these stupid wars. Just like that. Young kids, young people. I saw this Pakistani soldier who was martyred the other day. He just had a 3-month-old daughter. 3-month-old daughter, his first one. He got martyred by these terrorists. And who's arming and sponsoring these terrorists? You know who it is. The deep state. Because they don't want Afghanistan to stabilize. They don't want to see peace in Afghanistan. They want to instigate another 9/11 from Afghanistan so that there's more war, so there's more money for them. And the only hope we have is you. The only hope we have is that you stop this. You tell your communist president to stop being communist because he's not in a communist country. You remind him that this is a democracy. You remind him that you are the one in control, not him, or his masters, or the deep state, or the white supremacists. Is it that hard to do? Stop the war in Ukraine. Stop reigniting flames in Afghanistan. Ceasefire in Yemen. Ceasefire in Palestine. Ceasefire in Kashmir. Can we do that? Can we do that and stop trying to buy dummies all over the world? If China today gives United Nations a better price, I'm sure they're going to leave you. I know how many dummies you have in the United Nations. Nobody respects the United Nations anymore because it cares for the lives of the white people only. Anyone who's not white or so-called civilized with blonde hair and blue eyes is not even visible in the United Nations. That is what the current status of this so-called humanitarian organization is. It has actually become a facilitator of white supremacy and the deep state that has caused the destruction of the world in the last few decades. If I had even 1% common sense, I would actually boycott this platform to make them realize that they're wrong and they can't do this anymore because lives of everybody matters. And this century is not going to be owned by the perpetrators of all these wars in the last half century, by the white supremacists, by the deep state. This century is going to be owned by you, your kids, whether they're brown, they're white, they're blue, they're green, they're yellow, they're orange, they're red, doesn't matter. Whatever color is their skin, whatever language they speak, whatever country they're from, whatever religion they have, this century belongs to all of you and not these white, so-called, self-proclaimed, privileged scumbags.